This is Algebra 1, 8.6 notes. We'll be learning how to factor with a trinomial in the form of x squared plus bx plus c. So this is your current quadratic form. And we're going to learn how to factor it into two linear forms, or try to get it to at least two linear forms. Factoring is the opposite of foiling. So we can fill in that blank there of factoring is the opposite of foiling. So remember when you had two linear terms of that you were multiplying together to FOIL them, that it looked like this. It looked like two parentheses, and then you would FOIL them, and you would get an answer that looked like this, like on number 1. Well, now we're going to do that the other way. We're given the quadratic term, and we're going to factor it so that it turns into the linear term. So what you do is you make a t-chart. So everybody make a t-chart. This first column, you want to be able to multiply and then on this one you want to be able to add. This is in standard form. This will be your last term. And in standard form, this will be your middle term. So the 12 is going to go here. So we're going to multiply to get 12 and add to get 7. So you list everything that'll multiply to give you 12. 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. So then you add, and it has to, these two numbers that we're looking for have to multiply to give us 12 and have to add to give us 7, the same two numbers. So we'll add these going across. This is 13. This is 8, and this is 7. Well, the only one that matches is 3 and 4. 3 and 4 are the only two numbers that multiply to give you 12 and add to give you 7. So you write your answer in two parentheses. And so remember when we were foiling that each parenthesis normally had just an x in it. Well, the reason why is because you say, what will multiply to give you x squared? And so it's x times x. And so now that you know that the numbers are 3 and 4, you do plus 3. And plus 4. To verify that this is correct, you FOIL it. So first, x times x is x squared. Outer, x times 4. Inner, 3x. And last, 3 times 4 is 12. Combine like terms, and you have x squared plus 7x plus 12. So our answer then, for this problem, because they do match, it does work, is x plus 3 and x plus 4. So number 2. Number 2, draw your t-chart. Draw your t-chart for number 2. You want to multiply to get 24 and add to get 11. So remember, it needs to be in standard form. So it is x squared 11x 24. So we want 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, and 4 and 6. And I know I'm finished because 5 doesn't go into 24. And then if I wanted to go with 6, 6 is already in my other column. So now I add them. 1 plus 24 is 25. 12 and 2. 10. So the only one that matches, that will multiply to give you 24 and add to give you 11, is 3 and 8. So you make your parentheses. Your x is going first. So then it's plus 3. Plus 8. Number 3. Number 3 is not in standard form. You're going to go ahead and have to put it in standard form. Remember, standard form is highest exponent to lowest exponent. So x squared plus 10x plus 9. Now make your t-chart. What will multiply to give you 9 and add to give you 10? So you have 1 and 9 and 3 and 3. Those are only factors of 9. So 1 plus 9 is 10, 3 plus 3 is 6. So the only two numbers that will work are 1 and 9. So you have x plus 1 and x plus 9. So now number 4 changes it up a little bit on us. Number 4 puts a negative sign in there. So we're going to have to work with that. So it's in standard form, so we still want to know what will multiply to get our last number, 12. Add to give us our middle number. Add to give you negative 8. So they multiply to give me a positive number, but when they add, they give me a negative number. Well, the only thing that multiplies to give you a positive number is either two positives or two negatives. Well, if I have two positive numbers, they will never add together to give me a negative. So therefore, when I'm making my column here, these numbers have to be negative because two negatives will multiply to give you a positive, but add to give you a negative. So you have -1, -12, -2 and -6, -3 and -4. And then when I go to my next number, 4 to try, it's already in my column, so I know I'm done. So let's add these. We have -13, -8, and -7. So the one that will multiply to give us +12, but add to give us -8 is -2 and -6. So when I make my parentheses, it's x minus 2 and x minus 6. Okay, number 5. Number 5 is not in standard form. So we're going to need to put number 5 in standard form. So we have x squared minus 22x plus 21. So make your t-chart. But we'll multiply to give you 21 and add to give you -22. So again, they're multiplying to give you a positive, adding to give you a negative. Both numbers have to be negative. So we have -1, -21, and -3, -7. So we know our two numbers are -1, -21. So you have x minus 1, x minus 21. And it doesn't matter in which order these parentheses are. You could have x minus 21, x minus 1. That would be the same thing. Number 6. Multiply to give you 28, add to give you -11. So again, multiply to give you a positive, add to give you a negative. Both numbers have to be negative. So -1, -28, -2, -14. 3 doesn't go in there. 4 does, -4, -7. 5 doesn't go into 28, neither does 6. 7's already on the other side, so we're finished. So then let's add them. -29, -16, -11. So we know our two numbers are -4 and -7. So x minus 4, x minus 7. Okay, number 7. Number 7. Number 7's a little bit different because you're multiplying to get a -15 now and adding to get a +2. So we know that one of them is negative and one of them is positive because that's what multiplies together to give you a negative. So let's just list them all first and then we'll talk about them. 1 and 15. 2 doesn't go into 15. 3 does. 3 times 5. 4 doesn't go into 15, but 5 does. It's already in the other column. So they multiply to give me a negative. One of them has to be negative. One of them has to be positive. But when they add, they give me a positive. So that means my bigger number has to be positive. So then I'm just going to make my smaller numbers negative. So we have -1 plus 15, which is 14, and -3 plus 5, which is 2. So -3 and 5 are what multiply to give you -15 and add to give you 2. So my two numbers are x minus 3 and x plus 5. So here's what I want you to do for the next set of numbers. On 8 and 9. I want you guys to pause the video, work them, and then I'm going to put the answers up for you. Okay, so here's the answers to 8 and 9. Hopefully you paused it before you decided to look at the answers. On number 8, they had to multiply to get -48, add to give 13. So again, the smaller number was positive because they added to give, when they added, they got a positive. But on 9, when you made your list of numbers, when they added together, they added and gave you a negative. So that means the bigger number was negative. So I had to make all of those negative. So look at the work. Ask me questions in class if you are a little confused on 8 and 9. But make sure you've worked them a couple times before you ask, just so you can kind of grasp the numbers there. And this concludes part 1.